Hey, what's up, card fighters? So, I'm gonna go ahead and review every card in set 8 so that you at least know about it and I could kind of give you my opinion on it. So, let's go ahead and get this started. We're gonna do this by nation, starting in, I guess, like alphabetical order according to Bushy Road. Starting with Dark Stasis, Dragon Empire. Dark Stasis next. Um, Peak Personage, Stealth Rogues, Chojo Doji. I'm sorry if I mispronounce some of these names. What he does is he's a grade 3 Persona Ride 13k base, and he has two abilities. One is Act, Vanguard Circle once per turn. Cost, bind two cards with stealth in their card name from your soul. Choose two of your opponent's rear guards. Bind all the cards on the chosen rear guard circle. Opponent's rear guard, I think it chooses the circles if I'm not mistaken. I think it's rear guard circle and not the unit itself. But it chooses the rear guard, and your opponent puts those cards into their hand at the end of turn. And then its second ability is Auto. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, cost Counterboss 1, put two rear guards into Soul, choose a card with Stealth in its name from your bind zone, call it to rear guard. If your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, that called unit gets plus 10k power until the end of turn. So, I don't think it's bad. I know some people, have been like knocking down like the stealth Shijidoji deck. I feel like it has like enough tools and pieces to be like decent, like playable at least. And his supporting grade 3 is Stealth Dragon Unpresident. He's a 13k base grade 3 Persona Ride ability. Auto, when this unit is placed on rear guard by a card's ability, if you have a Vanguard of Tamayura or Sojo Doji, his card name costs Soul Blast 1, draw a card. And his second ability is Continuous. If two or more of your cards were put from rear guard into your soul this turn, this unit gets plus 10k power. So if you call this out with Shoujo Doji, it's going to be 33k by itself, 43 if you Persona Road. So yeah, I feel like the deck has all the tools it needs to win. It just might not have, probably like hand size. I feel like it has decent deck thinning. It probably just doesn't have a hand. Next card we're going down is Undoubting Flamesword Raid Lena. This is a dual nation card for Dragon Empire and Stoicheia. Grade 3 Persona Ride, 13k base. Auto Rearguard at the beginning of your main phase. If you do not have a Momoki token on your rearguard, call up to one Momoki token to rearguard. And then it has Glitter Roroa, which this is the effect that you can only activate if you have a Glitter Roroa Vanguard. Auto Hand. At the end of the battle, your unit with Raylina's name attacked. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, cost retire rearguard with Raylina and a Momoki token, call us to rearguard, and that unit's power increases by the power of the Momoki token retired from this ability cost. So it just gets you like versus you would make normally like 4 attacks. It gets you like a 5th attack for the Roa deck. So I think that's pretty solid. The only issue I would see is like now you're running like what, like 12, like 11 main deck cards that just don't have shield. Even though like the tokens do give you extra shield, and like you do have ways to like just spam tokens on your open board state. So I think it's fine. Definitely a decent card because it gives the deck an extra attack. The next card is Grade 2 Stealth Dragon Jakatsu Metsu Arcs, 10k base, 5k shield. It has the ability Auto. When this unit is placed on rearguard from bind zone, it gets 5k power to the end of the turn. And then second auto ability is Auto Rearguard. When this unit attacks, costs Soul Blast 1, choose one of your opponent's choose a card from your opponent's bind zone and put it on bottom of their deck. So I've noticed like a lot of the Sojo Doji cards where like they're gonna put your opponent's cards in the bind zone where normally like it just like basically clears their field, but they get it back at the end of hand and turn, but instead like it would go to the bottom of the deck. So I think that's solid. I think bot decking is just like really good in Overdress. Like unless like you're against Ava, but like besides that, I feel like bot decking is really good in Overdress because most of the time they'll never see that card again unless they like shuffle their deck. And even if they do shuffle your deck, you're increasing the amount of non-trigger units in their deck. So I think that's pretty solid. The next is a grade 1 8k 5k shield Static Crack Dragon. Its auto rearguard circle ability is when your other unit is placed on a rearguard in the same column as this unit during your turn, that place unit gets plus 5k power until end of turn. Oh, that's pretty cool. Cause like if you're playing like a Vanguard restander like Overlord, you could just like have this in the back row and then like when you ride Overlord on turn 3, it's gonna get a nice 5k buff, and then like if it still survives in the back row when you ride the end, that's another 5k buff, which means the end is gonna be 23 by itself. And then if you Soul Blast another 5, if you Soul Blast one for Nahalim's effect, he's gonna be 28 without Persona Ride. So definitely a decent card, but also something else to keep in mind is if you have it on one of your rear guard columns, to whereas if you call a unit in front of it, it's gonna get the 5k. But if also another thing to keep in mind is if you call a unit on top of it, that unit will also get the 5k power because his effect will proc before he's retired. So definitely a very solid card. I think it has room in like quite a few decks, to be honest, and it can probably only get better in the future. The next is an order card, a grade 3 order card for Tamayura, Scarlet of Fluttering Evanescence Life. Normal order, play this with a cost of Soul Blast 2. If you have Vanguard of Tamayura in its name, choose up to one unit with Rirami in its card name, and one unit with Rarami in its card name, each from your drop zone, and call them to rear guard. Definitely solid for recovery. The only thing I don't like is the Soul Blast 2 cost, but I feel like, Broken Dolls is probably better than this card, but, I feel like this is like probably like a good tech slot just in case. I feel like you build enough soul to where is this like this is fine. Fine card. I don't think it's the best, but it's a fine card. Next is a grade 3 Persona Ride, 13k base, Flying Shot Dragon, Crumb Stego. Auto rear guard when it attacks, costs Soul Blast 1. Your opponent chooses 3 cards from their drop zone and binds them. If they could not bind 3 cards, this unit gets plus 10k power until the end of that battle. So I guess this is for like the stealth deck, but it could also be used as like a pseudo resource denial against like other decks like Ava, to whereas you can bind their pieces in the drop zone if it's like early game enough that they're never gonna see those pieces again. Like again, I feel like it's like this is probably more like a meta call card. If like you like Dragon Empire deck can compete in the meta, so definitely like a cool tech card, a sideboard card if we ever had a sideboard. The next is another sideboard card, to be honest. Grade 2 10k, 5k shield, Subliminate Lance Dragon. Auto, when it's placed on rearguard circle, cost Counterblast 2. Choosing your opponent's rearguards and bind all cards on the chosen rearguard. It's a CB2 for a bind, which like really sucks. I mean, I guess you could get away with it in the Shoujo Doji deck. Shoujo Doji doesn't counterblast, but I know there's other pieces that do counterblast. So again, it's like more often than not just another tech card slash sideboard card against certain decks, which we don't have a sideboard, but it's funny to mention. The next card is a grade 2 10k, 5k shield, Spear Knight of Scales, Limb Visit. His ability is auto when it's retired from rearguard or guard. You have a Vanguard of Glitter, you may put this into your soul. Definitely very solid for Tamayera. I know a friend of mine was definitely raving about this card, that, this is like a pretty good card for Tamayera, it just like feeds soul. Next card is Grade 1 8k, 5k shield, Stealth Fiend, Kokomanu. His effect is auto. When it's placed on rearguard circle from hand, Counterblast 1, choose a card from your opponent's bind zone, put it on the bottom of their deck. If you do not put a card, choose up to one unit with stealth in its name and grade less than or equal to your Vanguard from your bind zone and call it to rearguard. So I guess this is like a really good setup card, depending like where you at in the game state. Because if you already filled your opponent's bind zone, then like it's a good control card. But if like it can also become like a really good setup card too. So I don't know. The only thing I really don't like about this card is like it has to be called from hand, so you can't call this from bind zone to like chain more attacks theoretically. But yeah, definitely a very solid card. Solid engine card. The next is a grade 3 Persona Rad 13k base. This is definitely for the Tamayura deck. It's Thunderclap Dragon. Auto when it's placed on rearguard. If you have a Vanguard with Glitter, Soul Charge 1, and this unit gets 5k power until the end of turn. Hold on a second. Shoujo Doji have no. Shoujo Doji does not have glitter. Shoujo Doji is just stealth. So this is like Tamayura support. Um, it's alright. The only thing I don't like about it that it's a grade 3 and like the deck, you already have like so little space in the deck. So if you are running like tech cards slash engine cards, you have to have like a really good reason to run them. And I feel like Thundercrab Dragon isn't a good enough reason. I could be wrong though. This is just my first reviews looking at these cards. The next card is the grade 2 for the ride line of Shoujo Doji. It's 10k base, 5k shield, World Shaper, Stealth Rogue, Shoujo Doji. Its auto ability when placed on Vanguard, look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Choose up to 2 normal units with stealth in their name from among them, reveal them, put one of the revealed cards into your soul, call the remaining revealed cards to rear guard, and shuffle your deck. And then its second ability is Act, Bind Zone. If you have a grade 2 greater Vanguard with stealth in its name, Soul Blast 1 calls to rear guard. So this is like definitely solid against like Ava, which is something that you do kind of have to keep in mind because like Ava has the ability to bind, and but not just like the really niche Ava matchup. Even though Ava is a tier 1 deck that you have to look out for, but it's also really good because if you ride this and your whole deck should be stealth units. It's a deck thin 2. It's a +1 and a deck thin 2, or like a soft +1 to board. So I think it's very solid ride line card. Very solid engine piece as well. I heard you run multiple copies of this in the deck. I'm not sure though. But the next grade 2 is a grade 2, 8k base, 5k shield, lightning bullet, a dust storm Sadid. His ability is auto when it's placed on rearguard or guard. If you have more rearguards than your opponent, this is plus 5k shield, plus 5k power to the turn. This is obviously meant to be like, I guess it's generic, but like it's meant to be for Eugene. Really bad card. I don't know why they made it an 8k base. I don't know why they made the ability like on place instead of like a continuous effect that you have more rearguards than your opponent, but we do need better cards like these for Eugene in the future. We need cards that benefit from your opponent having like smaller board than you or no board, but they also have the ability to remove your opponent's board. So, you know, we need more cards like that. This was like a very poor attempt. So, yeah, Sadid gets an F. The next card, I really like this card, Vulcan Golem. It's a grade 1 8k, 5k shield. Its effect is auto when it's placed on rearguard circle. Cost, put a normal unit with the same card name as any of your units from the drop zone on the bottom of your deck, and this unit gets plus 5k power until the end of plus 5k power until the end of turn. This is like a very solid like recycling card for like any Dragon Empire deck, and you know it's generic. Like literally any Dragon Empire deck can run it. So if you have the room to like just recycle like certain pieces that you need back in your deck or pieces you could search, Vulcan Golem is very solid. Next is a grade 1 of the ride line for Shoujo Doji, Sakura Romance Stealth Rogue Shoujo Doji, 8k power, 5k shield. Auto, when it's placed on Vanguard, look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Choose up to 2 normal units of stealth in their name from among them. Reveal them. Put one of the revealed cards into your soul and bind the remaining revealed cards. Shuffle your deck. Its second skill is the same as the grade 2 for Shoujo Doji. Act. If you have a grade 1 or greater Vanguard stealth in its name from the bind zone, cost Soul Blast 1 this time and call it to rearguard. Again, like Shoujo Doji in my opinion has like a very solid ride line. The ride line itself is only like a +1. It's a deck thin 4 in total, but it's only a +1. But I think the deck thin 4 is insane, and like the setup, like this sets up your bind zone. So I also think the setup is also insane. So I think Shoujo is like a very like good base ride line. So gets an A, I guess, for grading cards. The next card is a Heat Breath Wyvern, grade 1 8k, 5k shield. Auto rearguard, when it boosts the glitter, this unit gets 5k until the end of that battle. I just feel like you're probably playing better cards, and again, Tamayura like has like a deck space issue because of all the rear mirror armies it has to play now. So yeah, maybe if we get another glitter for Dragon Empire in the future, they could run this, but yeah, it's alright. There's just better cards. And then we have the 0 for Shoujo Doji. It's just the regular Uh, the regular grade 0 starter. There's really not much to say here. Draw if you go second. We have the last card we're gonna review for Dragon Empire is the grade 3 order card for Sojo Doji. Grade 3 normal order, return to the other shore. Its effect is play this if you have Sojo Doji Vanguard. You and your opponent both choose one of their rear guards. Bind all cards on the chosen rear guard. So yeah, it does. Shoujo Doji does choose circles. It doesn't choose the rear guard itself. It chooses the rear guard circle. And at the end of the turn, put each of their cards bound by this effect into their hand. If both you and your opponent's cards are bound by this effect, put this card into soul. Definitely really good. Yeah, definitely a really good setup slash resource card for the deck. Yeah, definitely solid. You probably like have to play this with the grade 3 and then with like the grade 1, and then I think the deck kind of like builds itself, which it's like it's the first time this deck is getting supported in Vanguard, so I think it should more or less build itself. So very solid card. Let's move on to the next nation. Next nation is Dark States. We're starting off with grade 3, 13k, Persona Ride, Silverthorn, Dragon Tamer, Lukier. She's also a Pale Moon, which is relevant because she is the Pale Moon archetype in Standard, or at least like for this set. It's Act Vanguard once per turn, cost Counterblast 1, put a card from your hand to soul, choose up to 3 units with different grades from your soul, call into rear guard. And if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3, those called units get 5k till the end of turn. And her second ability is Auto Vanguard. At the end of your turn, cost put 2 of your rear guards to soul and draw a card. So the second ability makes the first ability a net 0. Well, not a net 0. The second ability makes the first ability a soft +1 to board. But definitely a very solid card. The only thing I don't like about the Lukier deck is like I wish the order card was just built into the grade 3 Lukier. I find it very dumb that they just made that it was they unnecessarily made an order card for Lukier in my opinion. But that's just solely my opinion. But Lukier definitely a very solid card. Next is, I love this card, Silverthorn Rising Dragon. Grade 2, 10k, 5k shield, Pale Moon. But what's very relevant about this card is its first skill, Auto. When it's placed on rearguard, cost put a card from your hand to soul and draw a card. That's generic. You don't have to have a Lugia or Pale Moon Vanguard to use that. That's very good for Dark States as a whole. And then its second ability is Continuous. Rearguard circle during your turn. If you have Vanguard for Lugia in its team, and 2 or more units are placed from soul this turn, this unit gets plus 10k. And if 4 more units are placed, it gets another plus 10k. Oh wow, so it's a 30k? Oh shit, it's 30k by itself. 40k with Persona Red. Solid. Very solid card. Very solid card for Dark States all around. The next card we're gonna reveal is it's Showtime Rirumi. So this is a grade 1, 8k power, 5k shield. This is a Dark States and Dragon Empire unit, but you really only use this in Tamayura. Its first effect is Auto. When this card is put from soul into your drop zone during your turn, cost Counterblast 1, calls to the back row rearguard circle in the same column as your front row with Rarami in its card name. And then it's Glitter Tamayura. Auto, at the end of the battle this unit boosted, put all rear guards with the same column as this unit into your soul. If a unit where Rarami in his card name was put into your soul by this effect, if you didn't countercharge this turn, cost Soul Blast 1 and countercharge 1. And the putting into soul is mandatory. So very solid card for the Tamayura deck. Like the grade 1s like make it to whereas you're not minusing by calling over your units, you're just refunding your soul instead. So ideally you would want to swing with a glitter column, shove the glitter column into soul, and then like basically recall that column when you use the grade 2's effects to soul blast the girls. So definitely very solid support. And next is the other grade 1, Rarami. Grade 1, 8k, 5k shield. Ladies and gentlemen, Rarami. Its first effect is Auto. When it's put into soul from drop zone during your turn, Counterblast 1, and calls to the back row rearguard circle in the same column as your front row unit for your main its card name. And then Glitter Tamayura. Auto rearguard circle. At the end of your at the end of your turn. Oh, that was freaky. At the end of your turn, at the end of the battle, this unit boosted. All your rear guards in the same column as this unit go into soul. So it's the same effect as rear me, except if a unit of rear me is card name was put into your soul by this effect, choose one of your units against 5k until the end of turn. So just really good at like buffing your extra attackers. Again, ideally like you want to call out the girls and then soul blast us out with the girls. So you could just keep calling these boosters to the field, and then it's really good against like retire or control matchups as well, because when you boost with them, the into soul effect at the end of the battle is mandatory, so you'll probably be ending on like an empty board state. Very solid. And if anything, like ending on an empty board state isn't necessarily a bad thing, because you could just like recall the girls from soul with the grade 3 order card, or like from drop zone. No, it's from drop zone. From drop zone or from hand, and then like soul blast the grade 1s and then call them back out again. So very solid cards. Next is grade 1 8k 5k shield, Pale Moon Silverthorn Breathing Dragon. When this auto, when it's placed on a back row rearguard circle from soul, if you have Vanguard of Lukier in its card name, costs soul blast 1, choose one of your vanguards, and it gets continuous. All your front row rearguards get plus 5k power. Very solid card. Something I'm noticing, I didn't notice this at first, but the Lukier is like, her columns get really massive. So yeah, definitely like another win for Darkseid. It's like another really good Darkseid deck apparently, and it makes 4 attacks and just like very massive columns, and it draws cards, and it's able to like suck up its board, which kind of like is a protection from control decks. Yeah, very solid cardboard. Next is another support card for the Lugier deck, but it's not a Pale Moon. It's a grade 1 8k, 5k shield, Luxel Songster. Auto, when it's placed on rearguard from soul until the end of the turn, this unit gets 5k power and auto rearguard. At the end of the attack this unit boosted hits, put it to soul, draw a card. So another really cool draw card slash pressure on hit card for the deck, which is again, it's like it's really good. Like definitely really good solid support for like the first time that Luke here is coming to standard. But now we're finally getting to my boy, Chaos support. So this is a grade 1 order card for Chaos. Normal order. Song of Exculment can be heard. Play this if you have a Vanguard of Chaos in his name. Choose one of your Vanguards. It gets 10k power to the end of the turn. This is really good because Chaos is notorious for giving, like, spreading the power and the love to all your rear guards, but he never gets any power. So you're kind of forced to put a booster behind him. But this is really good for the deck because it gives him 10k power, making 33k with Persona Ride. And then its effect is choose 3 normal units from your drop zone, put them into your soul, and put this card on the bottom of your deck. So this is also really good because it just helps the deck out. And the choose 3 normal units from your drop zone, it says choose 3, it doesn't say up to 3. But in Vanguard, you have the do as much as you can clause, so I'm sure if you have like 2 or 1, I'm pretty sure you could still just put the 2 or the 1. Or even if you have none, if you're just using this for the 10k and the recycle back to your deck, because like let's say you're going to deck out and you need the drag check, it's a really solid card. Very solid double rare for the deck. I'm definitely going to like very hard try to like squeeze this into the deck. The next is a grade 2 10k 5k shield, Pale Moon Silverthorn Marionette Lillian. Auto, when it's rode upon by a unit with only Pale Moon for its clan, soul charge 1, choose a card from your soul, put it into your hand. Very cool cycle card. Very cool. Just able to fish anything you want out of soul. Very cool. And its second ability is auto. When it's placed on rear guard or guard, if you have Vanguard of Lukier in its name, it gets plus 5k shield, plus 5k power. So defensive while also being offensive, which is like very good for the deck, and the deck is already like showing me that it's going to be making like a very massive front row that's going to get like plus like 15, plus 20, plus maybe like 35k depending. So very solid, very solid. And then we have more KO support. Diverse Wildmaster Hontario. This is a grade 2 10k 5k shield. Continuous rearguard circle. During your soul, if you have 8 or more cards of different card names, this unit gets boost in power plus 5k. And then continuous rearguard, circle, and guard. If your soul has 8 or more cards of different card names, it can intercept from the back row and get shield plus 5k. So it's really good for the deck, really solid that this can either be an attacker or a booster. Like, those are my favorite types of cards that can, like, usually they're grade 1s, but like Bushiroad's been making grade 2s. Granted, most of them are like trash, but this one's, I think, it's actually really good. The only thing it's missing is that it doesn't soul charge for the deck. But I don't know if that's like relevant in the current Chaos list or not, but we'll see. I think it's a solid enough card, but I don't know if it'll be played or not. The next is a generic countercharger that we got for Dark States. Not every Dark States can use it currently, but it is something to note. It's a grade 1 8k, 5k shield. Auto. When this unit is put on rear guard from rear guard circle into your soul, if your damage zone has 4 more face down cards, cost bind this card and countercharge 1. So, really solid. You can't stack these because you can realistically, you can only ever proc 1 a turn. Or no, I guess if you're at 5 damage, you can proc 2. But you know, if you're not at 5 damage, you can only proc 1. Um, Currently, the only things that suck into soul is Lukier, Barrow Magnus, Greedon. Jewel doesn't have anything that could do it. Chaos doesn't have anything that could do it. Bruce has Derek. Derek could do it. So this could make your Derek free, I guess. I don't think it's too bad. Countercharge is countercharger, so I'll take it. The next is we have like the order card, which I really don't like this card because like this literally just should have been on the card itself, but that's just like me, like that's my semantics. This order card is literally the only reason why I don't like the Lukier deck. It's a grade 3 order, normal order. Hurry and join Silverthorn Servants. This card can only be played. This card can be played from Soul. Oh, okay. And play this card for cost counterblast 1. If you have a Vanguard of Lukier in its name, choose one of your rear guards and it gets auto. When your Vanguard attacks, cost, put this to Soul, choose a card of only Pale Moon for its clan, and grade less than or equal to your Vanguard from Soul, call it to rear guard until the end of turn. Very solid, gives the deck access to like a 4th attack, and again, it's already hitting huge numbers, so even if the deck can only make 3 attacks, but you know, definitely having access to a 4th attack is nice. Having access to it from Soul is also very clutch. My only gripe with it is that it's an order card, and this effect wasn't given to like Lukier herself. But very solid card. Besides that one flaw. Next is a grade 3 13k. This isn't a Pale Moon, but this is a Lukier support. When it's placed on rearguard from Soul by the ability of your Vanguard of Lukier and its card name, costs Soul Blast 1 and Countercharge 1. So I guess this is like a Countercharger for Lukier. I don't like that it's a grade 3. I don't know if the deck necessarily needs it or not. But it definitely does seem to be like very heavy on the cost side. But yeah, I'm sure it's like a fine card. The next is like Chaos support, but this is also very generic, so you could use this in like any Darkseid's deck. Record Break Dragon, grade 3, 13k base, auto when it's placed on rearguard from hand. Cost, Counterblast 1, look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 card with a different card name from cards in your soul among them. Put it into your soul, shuffle your deck. This is really good because it's a deck thin and it's a name for your Chaos. Very solid. I don't know if I could squeeze this into the deck or not, but I will definitely at least try. This is like a very solid card. It's only a common. The next is Immidi's Dragon. I don't like this card. I don't think this card is good at all. It's a 10k, grade 2, 5k shield. Its effect is auto when it's put into your soul by a card's ability during your turn. If you have Vanguard of Glitter, choosing your Vanguards gets 5k until the end of the turn. The reason I don't like this card is because it in itself does not soul charge. It only gets an effect while it's soul charged, which is a really good effect in my opinion. Because like again, your Vanguard is more often not lacking power, but it's more of a hindrance to the deck than a help because it doesn't soul charge in itself. So that's why I don't like Immidi's Dragon. Next card is This is not a Pale Moon card, but it's another Lugia card. Trapeze Actress. It's a grade 2 10k. Auto, when it's placed on rear guard, costs Soul Blast 1. Choose one of your Vanguards with Lugia in its name, and it gets power plus 5 to the end of turn. And Auto, when this unit is put on guard, if you have a Vanguard with Lugia in its card name, costs Soul Blast 1, and this unit gets 5k shield at the end of that battle. Like just more defensive slash offensive cards. So I see a lot of Soul Blast cost, but I don't see a lot of Soul Charge. So I feel like the deck, once it gets rolling, is very strong, but it might have like a slow setup or like a slow start. But I don't think it's a bad card. Next is a grade 1 8k, 5k shield, Abrupt Lever. It has a continuous rearguard ability. During your turn, if your unit was placed on rearguard from Soul this turn, it gets 5k, and it includes itself. So you could use this in Barrel Magnus, you could use this in Lugier, that's it. It's okay. You probably have better cards to run. The next grade 1 is Silverthorn Assistant Irene. This seems to be their Soul Charge engine. It's Pale Moon, grade 1 8k, 5k shield. Auto, when this unit's rode upon by a unit with only Pale Moon in its clan, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose one card among them, put it to Soul, shuffle your deck. When this unit's placed on rear guard, if you have Vanguard Fluke in its name, you get Soul Charge 1. Okay, so you'll just always have access to Soul Charge if you're able to just call this out. And then, yeah, you probably just run multiple copies of this, and this is your Soul Charge engine. Okay, cool. So then the deck doesn't have a soul problem as long as you have this card, which you will always have it. It's part of your ride line. Next grade 1 8k, 5k shield, Demis Fiend. Auto rearguard, when this unit boosts, if your soul has 5 or more cards, it has plus 5 to in that battle. Just your 13k booster, I guess it can be run in any Dark Stage deck. I don't think there's any Dark Stage deck that necessarily needs this right now. I feel like we have a better 13k booster. It just requires your opponent's Vanguard to be grade 3 or greater. So this card's pretty meh. And then we have the Silverthorn Assistant Lonita. Pale Moon, your generic grade 0 starter. Not much to say here. And that's it for Dark States. Alright, let's get on to what's the next one? Brandgate? Let's get on to Brandgate. So the first card for Brandgate is Monster Creator Archite, grade 3, 13k Persona Ride. Her first ability is Auto Vanguard Circle. When your rearguard with monster in its name is placed, cost, put a card with the same card name as that card from your order zone on bottom of your deck. That unit gets power 10k till the end of turn. Then her second ability is Auto Vanguard Circle. When it attacks, if your order zone has a research card, cost counterblast 1, activate all the effects below. If your order zone has 3 or more research cards, choose up to one of your rearguards with a monster in its name, put it into your order zone. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck and choose up to one card of monster in its card name from among them. Call it to rearguard and shuffle your deck. So if I'm reading this right, you're just going to get the call regardless. You just need the three or more research orders to choose one of your rearguards of monster in its name and put into your order zone. But you're going to get the call regardless if I'm reading this correctly. Seems pretty good. One of her support cards, grade 1 8k, 5k shield, Reception Monster Wave Loss. Auto, when it's placed on rearguard, if your Vanguard Archite or Glitter with Ava in its name on your Vanguard, Soul Blast 2, draw a card. And then second ability is Continuous Rearguard. During your turn, if your order zone has 3 or more research cards, this unit gets 5k power. Really solid. Can be an attacker or a booster, and it draws a card. Soul Blast 2 seems kind of hefty, but I feel like Archite just probably runs this at 4 because it's a monster. And it doesn't have to be placed from hand, so they could probably just abuse this. Yeah, pretty solid. Next we have the Chaos card, which is Brandgate / Dark States. Go Ahead Makani. It's grade 1 8k, 5k shield. Auto, when it's placed on rearguard, you may Soul Charge 1. So the important word here is you may. There's a lot of Dark State stars that you have to Soul Charge. This is a you may. So this is really good for Dark States as a whole. And then the second ability is Act. If your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, cost, put this into your soul. Choose up to one card with one grade 3 card from Makani and its name from your soul. Call it to rearguard. And then Glitter Chaos. Continuous from soul. when you would count the number of different card names in your soul for your card's ability, go ahead and counting in your soul counts as a different card name. So this is just really solid for the Chaos deck. It just gives it a consistency buff in terms of the grade 3 Makani being its multi-attacker, plus just like adding different names to your soul pot. So very solid card, very solid 4-of. The next card is Abstinent Robust. This is a grade 3 13k base Persona Ride. Auto, when it's placed on rear guard, costs. Counterboss 1, search your deck for up to one set order, reveal it. And if your order zone has a card of the same name as that card, put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck. And then auto rear guard. When this unit attacks, choose 2 set orders with the same card name from your order zone. If you choose 2 cards, it gets 10k into the end of battle. So basically, if you have 2 or more set orders, it gets 10k when it attacks, basically. But its first effect is really solid. It kind of sucks that like you can only search the order if you already have the order. I don't know if there's any brand gate decks that play this right now, just because it's a grade 3. I do know we get a grade 1 promo that kind of does what this card does, but better. And I believe it bounces itself too, but we haven't got that yet in English. But doesn't seem bad. Doesn't seem too bad just because it's a beater. But let's go on to the monster. Volcano Monster Gukatera, grade 3 13k base Persona Ride. Auto, when it's placed on rear guard, counterboss 1. Choosing your opponent's rear guards of grade less than or equal to the number of research cards in your order zone and retire it. Spot removal. I like it. And the second ability is Auto Rear Guard. When it attacks, if your order zone has 3 or more research cards, it gets 5k to the end of that battle. Nice. So it's 18k base by itself, 20 of Persona Ride. Does Archetype give him power? Maybe like Archetype's research order gives him power. Archetype herself doesn't give him power. But really solid card. You know, they probably definitely run this at 4 just because the monster name. It's a really good monster. The next is The World is a Blue Research Lab. It's a grade 3 research normal order. After it's played, you put into your order zone. Play this, you have a Vanguard of 8 with Glitter Ava in its card name. Auto. When this card's put into the order zone, with the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 card from them, call it to rear guard, shuffle your deck. And the second ability is Act Order Zone once per turn. Costs Soul Boss 1, rest 3 research order cards in the order zone. Choosing your glitter units gets 5k to the end of turn. Really good power / consistency buff for the Ava deck. I feel like the Ava deck was like just struggling in terms of like not necessarily card advantage, because like once it got the ball rolling, it got the ball rolling. But I feel like it could be like outgrinded by like other tier 1 decks that just massively got advantage, kind of like Gravidia and Youth in certain scenarios. But this is definitely like a very good consistency / power buff to the Ava deck that is going to put it toe to toe with Youthberg. And even though it already has like a solid matchup against Gravidia, it just has like an even better matchup against Gravidia now. They just have to worry about the high roll and the OT. The next card is grade 2 10k, 5k shield, one who pursues the Proto Galaxies. Auto, when it's placed on rear guard, if your order zone has 2 or more set orders, you may soul charge 1. I don't think this is relevant right now. This would be really good if it was a monster, I think. But yeah, it's just like generic brand gate card. Not much use for it right now. Maybe in the future. The next grade 2 is 10k base, 5k shield. Straddle Wisdom. Auto rear guard, when it attacks, it gets 5k power into the end of battle for every 2 research orders in your order zone. You would definitely use this in Ava, not Archetype, just because it's not a monster. It's a robot, so I guess it'd be really good in Ava. The next is actually a monster card. Grade 2, 10k base, 5k shield. Windstorm Monster Cyclogod. Auto, when it's placed on rear guard, choose a unit card of a monster in the same for your drop zone. You may put it into your order zone. You definitely play this at 4. This just like helps load up your order zone. This is definitely 4 of. And then Continuous Guard. If your opponent has 2... If your order zone has 2 or more research cards, it gets 5k shield. And it's extra shield, so I think the Archetype deck probably like shapes up like pretty nicely, I think. It might be like a tad slow, but it looks like it shapes up pretty nicely. It might have like a problem with like front row power. The next is a grade 1 order for the Archetype deck. It's called Torrential Energy Research. So it's a research order, set order. Auto, when this card's put into the order zone, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Choose up to 2 cards of monster in its name from among them. Put one of them into your hand. Put one of them into your drop. And shuffle your deck. And then act order zone. Rest this card. Choose a card with monster in its name for your drop zone and put it into your order zone. So I guess the way this deck works is you want to fill up your drop zone with monsters first, and then you start putting them into your order zone with this research and with that one grade 2 monster. So yeah, seems very solid. I mean, you need it for the strategy, so obviously it seems very solid. Next is grade 3 13k base, Persona Ride. Hard on Axe Dragon. Not Act. Auto Rearguard when a research card is put into your order zone. Cost retire this, countercharge one. Again, this would be like for the Ava deck. I feel like you really do just want to max out on monsters and not really play non-monsters in Archetype from what it looks like. So, yeah. For Ava, just another countercharge engine. It already has like so much countercharge, so probably doesn't need it. We get to the Grade 2 Archetype. Grade 2 10k, 5k shield, Sleeping Protector Archetype. When it's placed by writing from Monster Soul Searching Archetype, search your deck for up to 1 research card, reveal it, put into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So, just like the Ava ride line, it just searches for the researches you need to search for, which is the Grade 1 Torrential Research. So, yeah, you just need it for the archetype. The next grade 2 is a grade 2 10k, 5k shield, Fist Cannon Dragon, Dimetria Dragon. Has dragon twice in the name, that's how you know it's good. Auto, when this unit is placed on rear guard, cost, discard a card from your hand, look the same number of cards from the top of your deck as the number of different research cards in your order zone. Choose a card from one of them, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. This could potentially be like a really good card. Again, it's not a monster, it's a dragon, so this Ava would probably benefit way more off of using this. I guess you could, like, splash it in the monster deck, but I feel like you would just benefit way more by maxing out on your monsters. But it really doesn't sound like a bad card. Probably you just don't have space to play it. The next is High Flight Conversion Skybricks. Grade 2 10k, 5k shield. Auto Rearguard. When this unit attacks, if your order zone has 3 or more different set orders, cost Soul Blast 1, it gets 10k power at the end of that battle. I like beat sticks. This is like a really cool beat stick. It's really cheap too. It just costs like a Soul Blast. I don't know if you're able to use this in Gravidia or Orphist. You might not have the space, but this is like a very good generic beat stick to keep in mind for the future, depending on Brantgate ride lines or where the decks go. The next is a grade 1 8k, 5k shield, Inherent Automation. Auto Rearguard. When this unit boosts, if your order zone has 3 or more different set orders, it gets 5 kits in that battle. So this is like the first card, except like it's free, but it can't attack, it has to boost. So it's a 13k booster, which I don't think this is the first Brantgate 13k booster, generic 13k booster. So pretty solid in my opinion. And then we have the grade 1 monster Soul Searching Archetype, 8k power, 5k shield. When it's placed from riding the grade 0 Archetype, search your deck for a research order, add it to your hand, shuffle your deck. And then Cerulean Heavy Gunner, grade 1, 8k, 5k shield. Auto, when it's discarded from your hand during your turn, if your Vanguard's a grade 3 or greater of glitter, Soul Blast 1, you may call it to the back row. If you called it, it can't attack until the end of turn. I actually don't think this is a bad card for the Ava deck. You really can only use this in the Ava deck. I don't think it's a bad card in the Ava deck at all. I feel like it helps Ava in its like weaknesses, but you probably just don't have the space to play this card. I feel like space is already so tight in Ava as it is. That's why it's kind of hard to be creative with that deck. But I don't think this is a bad card. This actually seems like a really solid card. And then we have the grade 0 for Archetype. Not much to say there. You get to draw if you go second. We're going on next to Keter Sanctuary. This is like where all the bread and butter is, to be honest. We're going to go over the Regalia cards. Ominous Regalia Minerva, Genesis, along with being Keter Sanctuary, grade 3, 13k base, Persona Ride, all that good stuff. Continuous Vanguard. During your turn, if your soul has a grade 3 card of Regalia in its name, all your front row gets +5. So, mini Persona. Nice. and you could activate this on turn 3 if you can get a Regalia into your soul somehow. Nice. And the second effect is Act Vanguard once per turn, costs Soul Blast 1, look at the top card of your deck, put it on top of your deck or into your soul. And then its third effect is Auto Vanguard once per turn. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked. If your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, cost Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 3. Discard a card with only Genesis in its clan from your hand. Stand this, and it gets drive -1 until the end of turn. So this is very important to know with the Regalia cards and the Minerva archetype. It's kind of xenophobic, so you really can't splash that many non-Genesis cards. You kind of just have to max out on your Genesis cards so that you just always have the discard for her restand effect. I mean, technically you can't, you don't have to, but it will inherently make your deck inconsistent in what it's trying to do. But doesn't seem like a bad card at all. I really like the 5k to the front row. Next is your secondary grade 3, Regalia of Wisdom, Angelica. Grade 3, Persona Ride, 13k power. Auto Rearguard. At the end of battle attack, if you have Vanguard of Minerva in its name, costs Soul Blast 1, choose one of your Vanguards, gets 5k power until the end of turn. Then, cost, put this into your soul, countercharge 1. Very good for the Minerva deck that it just countercharges and it just like feeds soul into her first ability of just like giving 5k to the front row. So when you do this effect, your Minerva is going to be 23. And then if you went second, it's going to be 23. And then depending on your triggers, it's going to be swinging 23 again with 1 draft check. So very solid support. Again, you want to max this out. The next is our Ava card, Great Sword of Fierce Black Flames, Upsquide. It's a grade 2, 5k shield, 10k power, Dual Nation, Keter Sanctuary, and Brantgate. Its first effect is Continuous Rearguard and Guard. If your order zone has 3 or more side orders, it gets 5k power and 5k shield. So, really good, 10k shield, just like his dad. Second effect is Glitter Ava. Continuous Rearguard. If this unit is placed on Rearguard by your card's ability during your turn, and your order zone has 3 or more research cards, when this unit would attack, it battles all your opponent's front row. I think this is like just really good for the Ava deck. It gives it an element of control. I feel like it was kind of missing in its like quote-unquote infinite resource game, because I feel like your opponent went out, they would out-resource you. So I feel like this is just kind of like, it's like, this is something that the deck did need. It's a very good tool to have in their arsenal. And it's another Upsquide name, so definitely a 4 of. And then, Sword Saint Knight Dragon Graham Grace. This is like such a fantastic card. This is a pot of greed on legs. It's a grade 3 Persona Ride, 13k base. It has 3 different effects. Its first effect is Continuous Vanguard. Your Persona Ride also increases your back row. So when you Persona Ride, your rearguard columns are going to be plus 20k. That's just like insane. That's in my opinion, that's just, that first effect alone is insane. Its second effect is Act Vanguard Circle once per turn. Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. Draw a card. Choose a card from your hand, call it to your back row, center, rear guard. Until end of turn, that unit can attack from the back row and gets power plus 10k. Really nice. That's the first draw. The second draw is its third effect, Auto Vanguard Circle. At the end of the battle that your back row, center, rear guard attacked, put that unit into your soul and draw a card. So that effect by itself, it turns your extra attack into a +1, because from your second effect, it becomes a net 0, and you get an extra attack. It's technically a +1, a soft +1, and then just from this third effect, that actually turns it into a hard +1 into your hand. So it's just like, this is just like a really good card in my opinion. I'm actually very excited to like build a deck around the Graham Grace. Like, even with no Graham Grace support currently, I feel like there's just like enough generic good Keter cards that it wouldn't matter. This is like a very solid Vanguard card. Very solid. Very excited to play this deck and play against it, to be honest. The next card is a Genesis card, Witcher Ravens Chamomile, grade 2, 10k, 5k shield. Auto, when it's rode upon by a unit with only Genesis in its clan, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 2 cards from among them, put them into your soul, shuffle your deck. So this is kind of like Shoujo Doji, that it's just like a deck thin 2, and like it's soul setup. So very fine card indeed. And second effect is Auto, when this unit's put from soul into your drop zone during your turn, if you have Vanguard from Minerva in its name, counterblast 1, call this card to rear guard. So yeah, it's just called to rear guard. So, this is just gonna help you get extra attacks with your Minerva. If anything, like depending if you persona it or not, or depending on like your 5k power, this could like turn you from like a 4 attack turn into like a 5 or 6 attack turn. Very solid card indeed. Definitely a 4 of. The next is Magic of Alteration, turn on R. This is a grade 2 10k 5k shield. His effect is auto rear guard. In battle attack while boosted, if your damage zone has 3 or more face down cards, put this into your soul and countercharge 1. This is just like a very good generic Keter countercharger. No complaints here. Ketter's eating good this set, just like last set. The next is an order card for Thagrea, Dark Magenta of Blooming Hatred. It's a grade 2 set order. Play this if you have Vanguard with Thagrea in its name. Auto, when this unit is put into your order zone, counterblast 1, draw a card, so it replaces itself. And then its second effect is Auto, order zone. If you have a grade 3 Vanguard with Thagrea in its name, put this card into the drop zone. Choose up to one grade 3 or greater, one grade 3 or greater card with the gradient different card name from your Vanguard from your hand, and write it as stand. This basically makes it to where you're not going to get the Persona ride due to rulings on turn 3, but you are going to get the full effect of one of your Thagreas, depending on which one you start with. Meaning, if you start with the light Thagrea, you can get your deck thin and your like board building off the light, use the order card, ride your dark, and still get your dark restand on your turn 3, which is really good in my opinion, especially with the new Maple. Very solid card. The next card is Knight of Extension, Darwing. It's a grade 2 10k 5k shield. Auto, when this unit is placed on rear guard, if your Vanguard only has one clan, Soul Blast 1, discard a card from your hand, choose a card with only the same clan as your Vanguard's clan from your drop zone, put it into your hand. This is Genesis support without being Genesis support. It's weird. I don't know if you have room to play this card, because you're just going to max out on all your Genesis cards, but I guess this is technically a Genesis card. It's weird. I feel like they should have just made it Genesis. It's weird. I don't know why this is a thing. I guess it could add Persona Ride. Yeah, it could add Persona Ride, so like I guess that's a thing. So I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. Seems kind of bad in my opinion. Next grade 2 is, I'm actually really excited about this grade 2 in Graham Grace. Heartbreaking Knight Sadie. It's a grade 2 10k, 5k shield. When this is placed on rear guard from a card's ability, counterblast 1, draw a card. This unit gets plus 5k power to the end of turn. So this is really good in Graham Grace, because this is going to be 15k by itself, which means it touches like every grade 3 in the game, every Vanguard, grade 3 or greater Vanguard in the game right now from the back row. 25 with your Persona Ride, and it draws you a card. So it turns from like, it literally turns like Pot of Greed into like the Pot of Greed Graham Grace into a +2. Really good effect. Generic again, so you could use this in Thagrea as well. It just has to be called from card ability. Very good card in my opinion. Very good rare. It's a rare. The next card is a grade 1 8k 5k shield, Universal Angel. When this card's discarded from your hand during your turn, if your Vanguard's glitter, counterblast on draw a card. So just the Thagrea support. Nothing more to talk about here. It's counterblast 1, which we do have a countercharger. I'm just not sure if it warrants all the extra counterblast costs, but it's there if you need it, I guess. We have next is this really cracked order card that you can play in any Keter deck. It's a grade 2 normal order, Wisdom of Beginning that cleared the world. Uh, it's Keter, it's not Genesis, but play this across a counterblast one. You draw 2 cards, choose 2 cards from your hand, call them to rear guard. If the grade of each of them is less than or equal to your Vanguard, and discard them if not. This is just like really, this is actually Counterblast 1 for a Pot of Greed. This is like, this is Alden in an order card. Really good card, really solid order card in my opinion. Really good for just Keter as a whole. Next is a grade 3 Persona 13k base Coexistence Dragon. This is for Ava. This is not Ava, this is for Thagrea. This is Thagrea support. Its effect is continuous deck slash rear guard. If your Vanguard's glitter, it gets plus 5k power, which is 18k base, and grade -1, which means it's grade 2. Which is really important for Thagrea, because light Thagrea can only call grade 2s or less from the top 5 search. So there's like a bunch of times where it's like you see a bunch of 3s and a bunch of 0s, and you just end up shuffling your deck. So this is just like a really good support card for the Ava deck. Again, I'm messing them up. I mean Thagrea. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a nerd. The next is another grade 3. I don't really like this card at all. I think it's kind of bad, to be honest. Grade 3 Persona Ride, 13k base, Relentless Dragon. Act rear guard, cost, put this into your soul, top card of your deck, call it to rear guard or discard it. I don't really like this card at all. Yeah, I don't really like this card at all. I think it's pretty bad, to be honest. It's like, if it's a trigger, you either call it or discard it. If it's an order, you automatically have to discard it. So, just things to keep in mind. Next grade 2 is Knight of Harrowing Fear Dawback. Grade 2 10k, 5k shield. When he's placed on rear guard from deck by your Vanguard's ability, it gets boosted in 5k power. So this is just like really good in like a lot of Keter decks. Very solid card in my opinion. Very solid generic card that can just like be used in relatively any Keter deck. Next you have is more Genesis support. Witcher Frog's Melissa. Grade 1 8k, 5k shield. Genesis. Yeah, Genesis. When it's rode upon, auto, when it's rode upon by a unit forming Genesis' clan, top 5 cards of your deck, choose 2 cards from random, put into your soul, shuffle your deck. So, in total, your ride line is a deck thin 4. You don't seem to plus off your ride line, but you do plus board slash get extra attackers slash boosters when you soul blast them. So I think that makes up for it, but it might mean you have a very fragile slash weak early game. Auto, when it's put into drop zone from soul, if you have Vanguard from Minerva, call us to the back row rear guard. If you called it, you soul charge 1. So this is like a soul charge engine too. Yeah, again, you definitely want to max out this ride line at 4 as well. Next is a grade 1 8k 5k shield, Magic of Purification Fapuri, auto rear guard. When this unit boosts, if you have a grade 3 greater Vanguard, you could soul charge 1. I don't know if this is like necessary in any Keter decks. I feel like this is like supposed to be Genesis support, but I don't know if Genesis needs it or not, because they just kind of have like Melissa. But I don't know. It's there for Keter decks. It's generic. Can only be used on turn 3 forward, but you know, just soul charge engine that they didn't have before, which is very nice. Mamor Itred, another grade 1 8k 5k shield. Auto, when it's placed on rear guard, if your soul has a grade 3 cost, put a grade 3 from hand into soul, draw a card, it gets 5k power. I don't know. Kind of slow, depending on the deck you're playing. It's a weird card. Weird generic card. I don't know how many decks would play it. Probably doesn't see play. Maybe in the future. Just like a very weird niche generic card. The next is another Genesis card, Apple Witch Cider, grade 1 8k 5k shield, auto rear guard. You get about it boosted. If you have Vanguard from Minerva in its name, you return this to your hand. So you're not gonna call over this for when you call the card to soul blast it, which is very nice. So it just returns to your hand, so you don't really minus. That's very nice. Auto, when this unit, that's actually like, that's a soft plus, right? Yeah, it's a soft plus, I think. Auto, when this unit is put on guard, if your soul has a grade 3 card for Garlean's name, gets 5k shield. And it's a 10k shield. That's a very good card. Very good card. And then we have the grade 0 Genesis Vivid Rabbit, just your generic grade 0 starter. Nothing to talk about there. And then we go on to our last nation, Stoicheia. We're starting off with the Maelstrom support cards. Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom, grade 3 Persona Ride, 13k base. Act Vanguard Circle once per turn. Cost, discard a card from your hand, choose a unit with only Aqua Force in its clan, or a Tier Dragon from your soul, call it to rearguard, and it gets auto rearguard circle. When it attacks, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, it's the first battle of this turn, cost, Counterblast 1 and stand it. Counterblast 1 and a discard. I don't like that. I mean, obviously, if you're calling Inlet Pulse, then like it's a net 0 for like a Counterblast 1 and an attack, but I don't know if I like that. And then at the end of your turn, it goes to Soul, so if you're not calling Inlet Pulse, this is strictly a -1 for an extra attack. And the second auto ability is when this unit attacks a Vanguard, it's 4th battle this turn or more, draw a card, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So I guess this is supposed to be like another control deck, but Flagberg already does that, a control multi-attack deck for Stoicheia, but it might, I think it just strictly does it better because the guard is strict. I don't know, I'm gonna have to read your support cards, boy. I'm not too sure about you. Your grade 2 is Tidal Assault. Grade 2, 10k power this time. Tidal Assault, you upgraded. 5k shield. Auto rearguard. When it attacks, cost Soul Blast 1. Choose one of your Vanguards from Maelstrom in its name. It's 5k power until that turn. And then auto rearguard. In a battle this unit attacked, if it's the second battle of this turn, and you have a stand Vanguard of Maelstrom in its name, Counterblast 1 and stand it. So this is like just like another like 4th battle enabler, but its restand cost is still Counterblast 1, which I really don't like. I don't like that the cost to give your Vanguard with Maelstrom power is a Soul Blast. I kind of wish it was free, since you are calling things from Soul. But it's okay, I guess. Stoicheia does have access to counter charge, but I don't know if deck's able to use it or not. Next is the Thagrea support, Pink Moth Girl Maple. This is a grade 1, 8k power, 5k shield. It is a Stoicheia unit / Keter unit, so you can use those in both nations. Its effect is auto drop zone. When your grade 3 or greater Vanguard is placed during your ride phase, if you Persona Road this turn and you do not have a Pink Moth Girl Maple in your rearguard, you may call this to rearguard. And if you called it, it gets 5k power to the end of that turn. This is just like really good in a lot of Stoicheia decks and a lot of Keter decks that can just generically use this when they ride up. This is like a really good card because it's a 13k booster or a 13k attacker. And then its glitter effect for Thagrea is auto back row rear guard. When your unit in the same column as this unit stands, you may stand this. If you do, at the end of that turn, retire this unit. So yeah, just like a really solid Keter / Stoicheia card. Really solid card in general, like outside of Thagrea and inside of Thagrea. The next card is Tier Knight Emilios. It's a grade 1 8k 5k power auto. When this unit is placed on rear guard with your other grade 1 or less rear guard, cost Soul Blast 1, draw a card. This unit gets 5k power to that turn. I guess you're technically not making, it's a double rare. Ooh. Technically you're not making like a 16k column, you're making a 21k column, which might be relevant if you're like rushing on turn 1 or turn 2. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad card, it just kind of has to like find its niche. I don't know if its niche is Maelstrom though, but you know, if you do call it over a grade 1, I do believe you still get its ability to resolve. So I don't think it's a bad card, I just think it might not see play. The next is another Maelstrom card, which is the Maelstrom cards are Aquaforce cards, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Wheel Assault, grade 1 8k 5k shield, auto rear guard. At the end of battle, this unit boosted. If Vanguard of Maelstrom in its name, Soul Blast 1, choose 2 of your rear guards and swap their positions. So I see Maelstrom's like able to make like 6 attacks, 7 attacks? Question mark. I think 6 is probably the most they can make. But yeah, I don't think this is a bad card at all for Maelstrom. It's a soul blast, which I think is fine. It's better than a counter blast, to be honest. I think you could probably just manage the soul in this deck. The next card is a card for Aroa. It's a grade 1 order, normal order card, to the Shining Stage. Play this with a cost of Soul Blast 1. If you have Vanguard of Aroa in its name, choose a card from your drop with grade less than or equal to your Vanguard, call it to rear guard. Then if you have a rear guard with Riolina in its name, you can call plant token. You can call plant token to rear guard. Very solid, but I do think like you wouldn't play this with the set order, or you wouldn't play this over the set order. I don't think it's a bad card. I just think the set order is better because you can just actively search your Raelinas. And then next, grade 3. This is Maelstrom support, but it's not an Aquaforce unit. Shoreline Raised Dragon. It's a grade 3, 13k power. Auto rearguard. When this unit attacks, if it's the 4th battle this turn or more, if your order zone has a Blue Storm Armada, this unit gets plus 10k power to the end of that battle. And at the end of that battle, put this into your soul. So I guess this helps feed soul for your deck, and it's also a tier dragon, so it's easy to call it back out from soul. So yeah, you probably play this at 4. And then next is a grade 2 10k 5k shield, Ripening Dragon. Auto rearguard once per turn. When your rearguard is retired by your card's ability during your turn, it gets 5k into an turn. Not a bad skill, but because it doesn't stack, it's probably not going to be played. There's probably just better cards to run at this point than just like a 15k attacker. And then the next card is Titan of Greenflow Patrol. It's a grade 1, 8k power, 5k shield, auto rearguard once per turn. When your other unit stands by a card ability, costs Soul Blast 1, this unit gets plus 10k power to the end of the turn. Again, it doesn't stack. I don't know if you play this in the Maelstrom deck. I don't like that it's a Soul Blast. I understand why it's a Soul Blast, but I don't know. It might be like the Maelstrom deck is starting to seem like a little bit too resource heavy. So I don't know if you're just able to play this at all, but it's an 18k booster, I guess, if you're multi-attacking. And then we finally have Maelstrom's order card, Judgment Maelstrom. This is a set order, grade 3. Play this if you have Vanguard of Maelstrom in its name, auto. When this card is put into your order zone, activate all the effects below. Choose up to 1 unit card with only Aquaforce as its clan or tier dragon from your drop zone, call it to rear guard. Choose one of your rear guards against 5k power into a turn for each of your other Judgment Maelstroms in the order zone. So what I don't like about this card is they made it a set order for just the sake of making it a set order. Like, this literally could have, the second effect could have just been like count for each Judgment Maelstrom in your drop zone instead of your order zone, because it doesn't have any effects that you could reuse, or it doesn't have any lingering effects. So they just kind of made this a set order to be a set order, but again, it's a key piece of the deck, so you just kind of have to run it. The next card is Full Bloom Dragon. It's a grade 3 13k auto rearguard. At the end of your turn, if your Vanguard's glitter, put this into your soul as a cost. Call up to 2 plant tokens to rearguard. This is just like another copy of the promo, which is really good because it feeds soul instead of retiring itself, which Varroa uses a lot of soul. A problem I could see with Varroa right now is that it might have to run a lot of cards without shield, which I really don't like. But, you know, this is an option to play if you do have soul problems. Of course, you could just play, what's his face? Inlet Pulse, because you do make 4 more attacks. The next card is Marine General of the Whirling Tides, Lefuris, a grade 2 10k, 5k shield. Auto rearguard once per turn. When your other unit stands by a card ability, costs Soul Blast 1, gets 10k to end of turn. So it's just like that grade 1, but again, the deck is already resource heavy. Maelstrom, I don't believe you play this. That's just my personal opinion. And since Maelstrom and Flagberg are the only decks that have restanding rearguards, I just don't think you play this, to be honest, just because of the resource of Soul Blast. Next grade 2 is Tsunami Brave Shooter, grade 2 10k, 5k shield. Continuous rear guard during your turn. If you have another grade 2 grade unit, same column as this unit, it gets 5k power. There is a Rhinoceros that like gives units in the same column as it boost. So I guess with the Rhinoceros, you can make a 25k column. But like besides that, oh, okay, this is meant to be used with Wheel Assault. Okay, I understand now. Never mind. I get it. I get it. I'm hip. I'm hip. This is for Wheel Assault. It can. Those are the only two things I can think about that make this card useful. But besides that, this card seems pretty ass. The next is Marine General with the Relentless Ties, Algos. This is grade 2 10k power, 5k shield, Aqua Force. Auto, when this unit's rode upon by a unit of only Aqua Force in its clan, top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 unit card of only Aqua Force in its clan, or a Tear Dragon from among them, call it to rearguard, shuffle your deck. And the second ability is Auto Rearguard. When this unit attacks, if it's 4th battle this turn or more, if you have a Great Third Grade or Vanguard from Maelstrom, until that battle, this unit gets +5 and Auto. When this unit attack hits, draw a card. You have to jump through so many hoops to make this even like your 4th battle or more, and then you have to jump through so many more hoops because like it gets 5k power, yeah, that's great, but it still has to hit. Which, like, with a booster, this is going to be 23, but it's only 15 by itself. So, you run it because it's Aqua Force, and, like, it helps you build board, and it's part of your ride line. But, besides that, I don't really like its second ability. But, who knows, to be honest? Like, I feel like a lot of the new decks, people are just, like widely underestimating. I don't think they're as bad as people give them credit for. But, Maelstrom does seem pretty bad, in my opinion. Next is a grade 1 8k 5k shield, a Signpost Fairy. Auto, when this unit's retired from rearguard by your card's ability, if your Vanguard is glitter, choose one of your grade 1 or less rearguards, gets 10k power until the end of turn. Ooh. This is obviously for Roroa. I wish it didn't say if your Vanguard was glitter, but this is obviously Roroa. This just is like helps with like the really nasty rush that Roroa can do on turn 2 to make that dragon and the Ride-Lina like super massive. So definitely like a really good card, really good staple card in my opinion. Next card is Tier Knight Thero. Grade 1 8k Aqua Force, 5k shield. Auto, when this is rode upon by a unit with only Aqua Force in its clan, search your deck for up to 1 Blue Storm Armada. Okay, this is the Blue Storm Armada searcher. Put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. And then continuous rearguard. During your turn, if Vanguard Maelstrom is named, it gets plus 5k power. So 13k booster, 13k packer. Not bad. Definitely not bad at all. And it searches your order card, so it's a must play at least in the red line. And then our next card is a grade 1 8k 5k shield, Fierce Attack Brave Shooter. Its ability is continuous rearguard during the 4th battle or more of your turn. All your units the same column as this unit get plus 5k shield. Plus 5k power, not plus 5k shield. Interesting. Interesting for your multi-attacks, I guess. I guess, like, it can be used in combination with Algos to make him hit 20 by himself, 28 with a boost. But, like, besides that, like, I don't know. There's, like, a lot of cards that, like, want to work together. My issue is, like, how are you getting all those cards on board at the same time? Because the deck doesn't seem to draw much. And it discards for one of its costs. And then our last card is Officer Cadet Eric's. It's a grade 2 6k. When it's rode upon, obviously you go second. Aqua Force. Not much to talk about here. And if we go back up, I don't know if it's gonna show me the grade 3 Chalice order, but that's definitely something we need to talk about. Let me see. Let me go all... No, it's not gonna... So the grade 3 Chalice order, it can only be used once per game, because after you use it, it gets removed from play. Basically, if you didn't Persona Ride, it gives you Persona Ride. No, you can't use it when you ride up on turn 3. And yes, you have to be a grade 3 with the Persona Ride icon. But, those are all the cards for, set 8. I'm very excited for this set. I feel like there's, like, a lot of cool new decks that kind of, like, break into the meta. They're not really necessarily tier 1 decks, but, I think like a lot of them are tier playable in my opinion, and they all seem like really fun and cool to play. So I think set 8's gonna be like a really exciting, like at least for me personally, it's gonna be like a really exciting local meta. I don't know about competitive. Competitive literally might just be Chronojet, Ava, and like Youth, Gravidia, and that's like pretty much all you see. But you know, people will always have their pet favorite decks. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. But anyways, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you later with more videos. Bye.